Hi, I'm Jack Grimmer at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to Wycombe Sound.
The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the first Wycombe Wanderers Show of 2025. A pleasure to be speaking to you with the team top of the table for the new year after that fantastic, dramatic finish to the 2-1 victory against Exeter City at Adams Park to kick off the new year and bounce back from that first defeat in 20 League One fixtures. A fantastic response from the team, and as part of a pretty congested start to the new year as well. We'll chat to Phil in a few moments' time to reflect on that and look ahead to Saturday's visit of Blackpool, which also has a bit of significance in that a number of the FA Cup team that got to the third round for the first time in 1975, that's 50 years ago, will be gathering with Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, and with thanks to them we'll be chatting to captain from that time, Alan Phillips, as well. We'll hear from current skipper Jack Grimmer as well, as you'll find out in a few moments' time. He's had some good news to end 2024. We'll hear from manager Matt Bloomfield, and as our regular coverage of Wycombe Wanderers Women continues, we'll reflect on 2024 and look ahead to 2025 with captain Bobby Lynch. But first, let's wish Phil a very happy new year and reflect on what happened against Exeter City. But first, that news that captain Jack Grimmer has signed a contract extension.
Yeah, brilliant, and fully deserved as well, because, you know, as club captain, he spoke about it in pre-season about the responsibility that it means, not just on the pitch, not being a captain on the pitch when you're playing, but also the sort of leader off the pitch as well, and setting the standards and the example, and that takes increasing importance now at Wycombe Wanderers because of the introduction of the academy. There'll be more younger people coming into the building, younger players making their way. And it's really, really important that people like Jack Grimmer are around that can set the tone and set the standards and be an inspiration. And, you know, along with the other senior players here, impart their knowledge and wisdom and help these young players develop. So, you know, on the pitch, brilliant and great to have him here as our longest serving player. You know, he's seen and lived a lot through Wycombe Wanderers in his time with us. And to have that continuity in an era of lots of change, it's fantastic news and fully deserved.
Absolutely, great news, and really welcome for all the fans, I'm sure. Moving on to Exeter, you know, such an eventful end to the game where it looked like it was going to be a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I thought it was a game that certainly in the first half didn't really spark into life. It looked like two teams that had very busy Christmas schedules, as have lots of teams up and down the country, of course, over Christmas. And I thought once we got the first goal, I thought that was really important. And, you know, another good free kick from Luke Lee. He bit of luck with a flick off the wall on the way through. But obviously was gutted that, you know, to concede through a set piece. So, you know, a completely avoidable goal. And it came, you know, in the same minute that Stockport equalised against Birmingham. And when we were winning, it sent us back top of the league. And then to get pegged back immediately was quite deflating sort of watching it. But what's really great is with the character and belief in the squad is that, you know, that they could feel that the winner was there for them, because Exeter made lots of attacking changes to get back in the game and have scored a lot of late goals recently, you know, drawing 4-4 on their last game before the other day. So look, you know, to go out there and get the penalty, and it is a penalty. I think it hits both players' hands. It hits the Exeter players' hands first, which is the important call. Referee was in a good position and gave it. So still needed to be scored. And then, you know, the football tells wonderful stories sometimes, and another wonderful one against Exeter when, you know, Aaron Morley, as we spoke to the gaffer after the game, and he said that the penalty taker that day was going to be Berry Labala. We had one saved, didn't we, on Boxing Day from Richard Kone. Luke Lee, he's taken penalties as well, but he had already been subbed off. So Aaron Morley, I don't think he touched the ball much afterwards, so you could probably argue it's his final touch in a Wycombe shirt before being recalled. And who knows what will happen between now and the end of January. It's a long month. It's a long month for everybody, because obviously it's the month after Christmas. It's a long month as well in the transfer market, and we shall see what happens with him. But if it is the last we see of him in a Wycombe Wanderers shirt, a fantastic and fitting way to sign off.
He has been such a great servant during his time at the club. Yes,
yeah, he's been really integral to how we play. And also, when you think of the circumstances of him, of how he's come here from a League One rival, speaks volumes of what Bolton thought of what we were going to be doing this season, that they were willing to let someone of Aaron's quality come to us. in order to gain game time and fitness and form. He's had all three of those. He's been in fantastic form. He's looked really fit and has had lots of game time and has contributed to that huge run that we went on. Which ended up with us losing at Charlton in the final game of the year. But what a run it's been. And, Bolton are getting a player in much better form and confidence than the one that left. And we shall see what happens. But the celebration, I think, spoke volumes for the fans in the stand and in the family stand and the Frank Adams with the banging of the Wycombe Wanderers badge.
And to be at this stage of the season with 50 points as well is an incredible achievement.
Phenomenal. If we match that, then I've done the maths, Colin. It's 100 points, and that would be absolutely incredible. It's a huge ask, of course, and January will be the key indicator, not just for Wycombe Wanderers, but for everyone in League One, about what can happen. We saw the value of the January transfer window in 2024 when Wycombe were in relatively poor form coming into the new year, and picked up soon after and we all saw the stats for the calendar year of 2024, 87 points across the year, and that included a fantastic second half of last season. So look, teams will look at the January transfer window and they will look to be strengthening and seeing what happens. And the loan market is key to that as well, not just for Wycombe, but for other clubs too. So look, Wycombe are in a very, very, very good position. And, if it is to be other loanees coming in or other players coming into the club, it's a much different conversation to the one that was going on in the summer, where not many pundits or people talking about football were talking about Wycombe Wanderers being top of the league. Well, the table doesn't lie after 23 games, and Wycombe Wanderers are top of the league. So if you're having those conversations with players and agents, etc., then we're a much different prospect than the one that we were in the summer.
And conversely, I guess many players will be attracting other clubs as well, with the team being top of the table.
Look, that's the price of success. And, I think the flip side of that is you'd much rather that be the case than stuck in mid-table or sort of near the bottom and no one being interested in your players. So look, if players are catching the eye and their performances are warranting attention, then that's a win-win because it means that they're doing great things whilst wearing the shirt of Wycombe Wanderers. And Wycombe Wanderers are in a healthy financial position. It's not like it was, 10 years or so ago where, we had to sell players to keep the lights on. So in terms of bargaining and positioning, negotiation and decisions, more importantly, it's a different time. But, of course, players playing well, team doing well will attract people and offers. And you have to take the positive of that by saying that, they're top of the league. They've been on a fantastic run. They're going to attract attention and so be it.
And really nice for the team to bounce back from that defeat against Charlton and really great preparation for the visit of Blackpool on Saturday. Yeah,
I think it was important, the reaction that we saw, because you often see sometimes a team go on a huge run, a winning run or an undefeated run. And then when the defeat does come, one defeat can often sort of run into 2, 3, 4 defeats. And we've avoided that, which I think is excellent. I thought the performance at Charlton was a bit leggy and we were a bit off it, certainly in the first half, and didn't really click into gear until sort of 2-0 down, and then certainly made a game of it after that. But, when you're clicking into gear and you're already 2-0 down, you're not going to get many points, certainly away from home. I think the response was excellent. I thought the first half against Exeter was two teams who cancelled each other out. But I thought I saw a marked improvement in the second half as well, which again I think shows spirit and great fitness. I think it was a hugely important 3 points, regardless of what was going on elsewhere. But with Exeter being stubborn, Birmingham getting pegged back late on, and Wrexham losing 2-1 at Barnsley, a fantastic set of results elsewhere, coupled with our win late on, was phenomenal on the terrace when they saw the news. And the modern day now, you can tell when goals go in as they happen. So when they were singing "We're top of the league, we're top of the league," it's a great feeling.
And you'd imagine the hosts to be favourite on Saturday because Blackpool have had a bit of an indifferent season, and under Steve Bruce more recently they were without a win for a while as well. Look,
it's really difficult, this division. I think it's really tight. We had a fantastic game up there in August, a 2-2 draw. That was just as the window was closing, wasn't it? And now we play them just as the window is opening. Steve Bruce has come in and steadied them up. He had a really good set of results initially. Look, that's not an easy game. and Blackpool are a big side. They, former Premier League team. I think it's really difficult to underestimate anyone in this division. So it's going to be a tough test. Of course, from Wycombe's point of view, they'll see it as a winnable game, and I'd like to think that Wycombe look at any opponent in League One and see the opportunity to make that 3 points. But that's not an arrogant thing. That's just the way the teams are playing and the way the division is. Look, Blackpool will see themselves, like a lot of teams in League One, that they're just a short run away from getting themselves in the conversation for the top 6, because it's pretty tight down there. I'm fortunate that we are in a lofty position where we're not in that pack. But I think Blackpool will certainly see the amount of football left to be played and see that the season is very much alive and kicking, and they will see Saturday's game against Wycombe as the springboard into that.
And just finally, I was reading that they shouldn't be called New Year's resolutions anymore because people don't keep them, so they call them goals. So do you have any Wycombe Wanderers related New Year goals?
Me personally, or
just that you'd like to see from the team in the new year?
Well, I'd like to see us keep winning, and I'd love to see us go on another sort of 18, 19 unbeaten run. That would be a fantastic thing for us to keep doing. So, quite an obvious one. Keep winning.
Enjoy the game on Saturday. Thank you very much for your time.
Cheers, Colin.
Pleasure to have Phil on the show as always. Don't forget he'll be bringing you full match commentary from Adams Park on Saturday for the visit of Blackpool, hoping for 3 more points there. Let's briefly though reflect further on that fantastic win against Exeter City on New Year's Day, and Phil spoke to the manager Matt Bloomfield on how they responded to that defeat against Charlton Athletic on Boxing Day.
We wanted to bounce back, obviously, from the defeat on Sunday. We asked the boys to really try and play with freedom. I felt like the game was a little bit stop-start and didn't really get a real flow and momentum to it. So we were unable to do that, but we found a couple of quality moments. Could have had 1 or 2 more. I enjoyed our attacking play second half once the real energy came in the ground and the boys played a bit on the front foot a little bit more. So very disappointed. I think they've had 5 touches in our box all afternoon, so it was frustrating to find ourselves at 1-1. But yeah, to find that moment at the end and for it to be Hasser, it's obviously a nice moment.
A real narrative to this as well. The fans making their feelings known. Aaron Morley's celebration, banging the badge as well. What can you tell us?
It's obviously very disappointing that Aaron's returning to Bolton. He's been an absolute pleasure to have. And I'm not just talking about the passing, I'm talking about every day in training. He trains properly every moment. He's so low maintenance. Just comes in, gets on with his work. He's integrated into our football club incredibly well. The boys have welcomed him just because he conducts himself with so much respect and just gets on with his business. He's been a genuine pleasure. I feel like he's improved in his couple of months that he's had with us. We've done a lot of work with him one-to-one in front of the screen and tried to point out a couple of bits where we feel like he can improve, and he takes on the information with absolute respect and listens and tries to implement it. So it's incredible, isn't it, football, the stories that and the narrative that it throws up, and for Aaron to get the winner today in front of the terrace, it's just a special moment for him.
Wycombe had a few penalties saved recently on Boxing Day as well. Was he always the named penalty taker regardless of everything else?
No, Bez was on them today, but it wasn't on the pitch. And Lukey's obviously had a few for us, wasn't on the pitch. And, we know since we've got him that he's that guy, can take a set piece, corner, free kick, penalty. And it's just amazing, isn't it, how, Bez isn't on the pitch and then Azza steps up and slots it home. So, and football's an incredible world to throw up stories like that.
And before that, it was 2 set pieces, a free kick from Wycombe Wanderers and another Luke Leahy classic. Yeah, I think
Lukey's he's an incredible guy. Like, Lukey just manages to influence things in any way, whether that's the way he conducts himself around the boys, the way he influences people, the way he takes people on that journey with him, because he's such a leader and a character and a personality. On the pitch, he'll find a goal, or he'll find a tackle or a pass, set piece. Again, Lukey's an incredible guy. We've been so lucky to have him. He was such a good signing for us. We had to take money out of the budget last summer to go and put towards his transfer fee, because we just felt he was a Wycombe type player, type person, and he hasn't let us down in terms of the faith we had in him. He's been absolutely fantastic, and he just manages to find a way to influence stuff.
And having worked so hard to get in the lead, he must have been disappointed to concede from a set piece.
Rightfully disappointed, because we were talking on the bench. Do we need to make changes? Do we not? There was nothing in the game. It didn't feel like there was anything in the game, and out of nowhere, like I say, 5 touches in our box all afternoon. To go and get that moment was really terribly frustrating for us. But we added to fresh energy, got it on the pitch, and to go and get that moment at the end was lovely.
and adds to the other narrative. Birmingham drawing late on, Wrexham losing as well. Wycombe return to the summit. Is that a big moment in the season? Here we are halfway through.
Well, a couple of things. I think that Sunday, we should have had a penalty and we didn't. We should have had a free kick that didn't, and it influenced the game. So let's have a look at that. Also, to go top on New Year's Day, 50 points from 23 games is an absolutely incredible achievement from the lads. Like, they've just been so all in from the first day of pre-season. They've worked so hard. And we're so hungry for more, but we've got to imagine and remember where the journey started for us at the start of last year and how far these boys have travelled. And for us to be above the teams around us on New Year's Day is just an incredible achievement. So we have to just be calm with it, enjoy the moment. You know, the games are coming thick and fast, so before you know it, we'll have a couple of sleeps and we're back here against Blackpool. We've got to retain our energy for that and enjoy the moment and just be really, really hungry for more.
And so many games coming up as well. The window is open, as we alluded to earlier on, chatting about Aaron Morley. Huge few weeks for the season for everybody.
Absolutely, and I read some quotes from Ian Evatt in an article a couple of days ago, and he said, in January is so important to get people in the building who are able to hit the ground running, and that was correct. We did it last year, didn't we, with Bears, with Butch, with Nige, who wasn't ready to hit the ground running, but he kind of built himself into it because of his hamstring injuries he's had previously. So, yeah, it's obviously a really crucial time for us. We've got ourselves in a real nice position, but we're at risk of losing one or two. So we have to make sure that we're ready to act.
Remember, you can hear more of that chat with Matt Bloomfield on Wanderers TV. You can also hear from Luke Leahy speaking to Darcy post-match against Exeter as well. Lots to enjoy on Wanderers TV and on the club's website as well. And you'll hear more from Matt Bloomfield on next week's show. Part 2 of the Wycombe Wanderers Show on the way next, here at Wycombe Sound.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire. And on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
Part 2 of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show. It's the 1st of 2025. You probably know that. You're probably unaware what day it is, but it doesn't matter because the Wycombe Wanderers Show is always on a Thursday, which gives it away. Still to come, we'll hear from Bobby Lynch, the Wycombe Wanderers women captain, and we'll hear from men's captain Jack Grimmer as well. But continuing the captain's theme, you may have heard over the past few weeks we've been speaking to members of that 1975 Cup side that got to the third round of the FA Cup. 2 games against Middlesbrough, forced them to a replay at Ayresome Park, and with thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association, we can hear from the man that not only led them to the Isthmian League title, but to those 2 games in that season as well. Alan Phillips on his reflections from 50 years ago.
It is of the it was such an exciting day, and itself. It does lead, doesn't it? Very difficult to not recall the time. It was exciting for the club and the town, etc. It was brilliant.
So what were your memories of the build-up to the third round? Because obviously you had a number of matches before that as well.
We didn't really play that well. We started off, it looked a little difficult, but we managed to get through each round, and by hook or by crook, we had sufficient talent, even though we weren't playing that well, to get through. And then to have the assurance of a top team in the third round was fantastic.
And was there a feeling amongst the team, even when you got to the second round, thinking, the club's not got further than this before?
Well, I think both Brian Lee and John Reardon were very feet on the ground management, and kept saying, well, it's great if we get there, but it's not necessarily mean that we can get through, but we're a good team, so I think we stayed with that in mind.
And what were your thoughts when the draw was made for the third round?
Oh, wonderful! Who doesn't want to play the new Premier League for a top first division team at the time? The thought of playing in front of 30, 40, 50,000 crowd for us players was a dream, really.
And I guess you couldn't have imagined how well it would have gone, to take them to a replay as well.
I always felt that if you're with a top non-league team who are on top of their game, you could give everyone a game. But it's so I was relatively confident we could give a game. But of course, it's very nerve-wracking. You don't want to make a fool of yourself if you're on television, etc.
And fantastic as well. Just that people say, don't they, the magic of the cup. But as you say, to pit a non-league team against the top team in League or Division 1, as it was called then.
Oh, it's a wonderful opportunity. I felt for them because not much. I didn't feel very much for them, but they were playing on a ground that was quite sloped. Playing against, they had the crowd against them. They had and the top players, as they were, always want to perform. But I knew it'd be difficult for them as we knew the pitch. We knew how we could extend ourselves against them. And luckily on the day we did.
And did you prepare any differently for that first game?
No, I think we had we're very lucky in that Brian and John were very experienced management team. I think we looked at the play whilst they were attacking us to play with the either fullback pushing forward on occasion, so we could play with a three at the back, which we were relatively comfortable with. All the back four were comfortable with switching. So if Gary Hand went forward or Paul went forward, we were able to continue with that because we did expect them to be right on us, the 4 against 4 or 4 against 3, which is really as they played with not heavy forward presence. And that gave us the opportunity of a lot more possession than, as much possession as we hoped we'd have.
Do you remember much about sort of how you felt during the game itself?
Only a couple of times when I miskicked or something in the opportunities we had. And we had very talented players. I think a superb mix of experience and youthfulness. And we had through the spine, John Maskell, extremely experienced, Terry Reardon, Tony Horseman, Keith Mead and myself were not that young, so we'd been round a bit. But at the same time, we had incredibly talented players then at fullback, in the midfield, plenty of talent from Howard Kennedy and Mickey Hollifield. And up front, they were exceptional with Steve Perrin, Tony Horseman, Keith Searle. It all good well because they were all comfortable on the ball.
And I'm sure you're frequently reminded of how close you came to scoring yourself.
Well, that was a pity. Could I have done more? I don't think so. But I remember he hung on to me like dear life, and that was very close. Great cross from Terry Reardon. As I said, the mix of experience and talent and young talent was really credit to Brian Lee and John Reardon on their picking team selections over the years, which they've done for years, for 3 years running, top of the league or more or less top of the league. And they built teams who were used to being able to play a positive game against teams.
And what was your emotion when you earned a replay?
I enjoyed the replay. I thought that we were unlucky not to win. We were unlucky. We didn't have the same opportunities, but we weren't roasted. So we looked after ourselves and really only lost quite late in the game. But we knew it would be a tough call, and they would be out to usurp on their big pitch, etc. As he says, their big pitch usurp the more skill. That should have more skill, more stamina, etc.
But was there an overwhelming feeling of real pride that you'd got that far in the competition and been so close against Middlesbrough as well?
Well, I think it's quite funny really because we were up till Christmas we were well behind the league leaders, and I think if anything that spurred us on to the performances after Christmas to gallop forward and retrieve maybe a 14, 15 point gap and win the league that season. We wouldn't have done it, I don't think, without those games that gave us confidence to move forward.
Was there a point where you thought, oh, something quite special is happening here? This is quite a special group, and we could really, go on to win the Isthmian League?
Yes, I think so. I think they were all exceptional players, and in the background there was other players that were on the fringe of the team who were exceptionally good as well. That later became very successful in their own right. It was an interesting end of a sort of amateur stroke semi-pro area had just come in, and this was the beginning of that. And fortunately, we were a very, very talented team, I thought, at our standard. And with someone like Tony Horseman and Keith Searle, Steve Perrin up front, you're always in with a chance of winning. We just had to make certain that we didn't give too many goals away.
No, absolutely. And how did you find it personally, combining the football with your day job as well?
Very well. That's right. It was very demanding. I think it goes to show that professional footballers have a demanding time, as we know. But non-league is to get the time, to get the rest, to get the opportunities. And we trained hard and worked hard in our training with, fortunately, most of the people that played, or all the people played, were quite athletic and looked after themselves. Although it's funny to see Terry Reid smoking in the after, if I recall, when we were celebrating or discussing after the game. So but he was a fantastically fit guy, so maybe it didn't affect us.
And fantastic that the bond that was created between all of you and what you've been through and experienced together, and that you've remained in touch and close, and that you'll be meeting up again on Saturday.
Yes, I think it's sorrowful of the players that have gone. The three midfield, which is incredibly sad. And it affects it will affect the feeling on Saturday that they won't be there. But I'm sure we should celebrate what we have and acknowledge they were great friends and enjoy the occasion.
And did it feel like at the time, you're really kind of laying foundations for what was to come in the future for the club?
Yeah, that success really, you could say it was a success to take them to a replay, but it's dwarfed in terms of what's happened since. The club has done so well. It's fantastic, really. And I'm pleased that, it didn't automatically move from that date to the successes. The club then had to go through a number of situations before really achieving Football League status, which is quite fantastic. But you could see that the crowd base was enough to support really a better standard of football.
And fantastic for yourself as well, and obviously the rest of the team to be, to have that place in the history books of being the first team to reach that stage of the competition.
Yeah, it's luck, isn't it? It's quite strange, really. You train hard or you work hard with colleagues. Certainly I came to South East football or London football late. I played in the Southern League for Barry Town for a few years. So by the time I'd finished there, I really wanted to play with good players. And I was fortunate in that I had the opportunity of doing so. Whereas my previous life at Barry Town was a struggle on occasions playing in the Southern League.
And strange to reflect even how the game's changed in that time as well.
Oh, it changed. The end of the amateur era changed things completely. I think it was very opportune and very fortunate time to have played football in non-league type standard, and it's very interesting. I was thinking of that, looking at the thinking about the third round now and the way in which the FA have changed things. You can't have a replay, you can't do this, you can't do that. I would just find it fascinating now if a highly successful non-league team came against one of the Premier Leagues now and how they would cope. Would they cope? I don't know. It would be very interesting to watch. Everyone seems to play the same now, so maybe the superior tactics, skills, etc. of Premier League would be too much for almost any team now.
And fantastic for you to have that connection with the club as well, and to have played just under 200 appearances, and to have been the captain as well, and as I say, to really have that place in the history books as well.
Yes. Oh no, I'm very proud. I think it's a wonderful club. Great people involved in it, and at the time, a very, very experienced management team that complemented each other fantastically. Both John and Brian were entirely different characters, but they were great together.
And fantastic to have the Ex-Players Association, that obviously we can speak to you about it, and that you can get together as you do as well. I've
talked to quite a few people about it. I think the Wycombe one must be one of the most successful. And it's people seem to be so pleased to see each other each time there's a club activity, and it's great looking at each of the tables and each of the eras, team eras, being together. I mean, the last year I think I sat next to Graham Mackenzie, who'd been incredibly successful he was a young lad, 16, 17, when this year, I think, and on the fringe of the team, playing occasionally, but on the fringe. And what a success he's had in playing with Kidderminster, etc.
And I know when we spoke to you previously as well, I think it's so special about football, isn't it? That you can be teammates and then go away for a while, but then when you come back, it's just like reconnecting again.
Yeah, and the Wycombe team, I think, were good guys. There was always a very healthy competition in training nights in the light blue tracksuits against the dark blue, but never spilled over. It was a pleasure to be playing in there. Always, and that's an acknowledgement. I'm sure at other clubs, and occasionally things spilled over, but I can't remember anything ever spilling over in any of the sessions we had.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you again and to share your memories, and hope you enjoy the game and the occasion on Saturday.
Oh, thank you very much, Colin. Well, looking forward to Wycombe winning and keeping their challenge going.
No, absolutely. Must be great for you to see them top of League One at the moment. Well, around the top anyway.
So I'd like to see a Wycombe-Wrexham promotion.
Oh, yes, that would be ideal.
Kind of.
Brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
Yeah. Cheers, Colin. Thank you.
Across High Wycombe and South Buckinghamshire, and on your smart speaker.
Play Wycombe Sound.
This is Wycombe Sound.
The Chair Boys are flying high in League One this season, so come on down to Adams Park, get behind the boys and play your part in what will be a memorable season for Wycombe Wanderers.
71 minutes on the clock, up against Jed Stitt, dancing around on his line.
Take your time, Rich. Take your time.
Kone. Here he comes.
It's been goals for the Chair Boys so far this season. Come on down to Adams Park to play your part and get behind the boys. Head to tickets.wwfc.com and use the code SOUND on booking for a chance to win a gantry experience at a Wycombe Wanderers home match. Come on, you Blues.
Final part of this week's Wycombe Wanderers Show. Still to come, we'll catch up with men's captain Jack Grimmer, reflecting on having 50 points at the halfway stage of the League One season, and his new contract, which was the last bit of news of 2024, and very welcome as well. But first, let's turn our attention to the Chair Girls, who are on a bit of a Christmas break. It's been a pleasure to catch up with Captain Bobby Lynch, briefly looking ahead to what might be in prospect for 2025. But first, a bit of a reflection on 2024, not just the new season and the new faces that arrived, but also the great form that they experienced towards the back end of the previous campaign.
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's actually quite hard to differentiate which season is which and what year is what, because I run my years up on school and football season. So sometimes I think, that was the end of the year. but it wasn't. It was just the end of the season. So when I think back on 2024, it's hard to remember what happened in this whole year. But it has been a bit of a whirlwind. We've got loads of new faces over the course of 2024, haven't we? And kept some old ones as well, which is always good. But overall, yeah, pretty successful year, I would say.
Because in a way it felt like the season finished at not a very good time, because you seem to be just hitting some really good form and getting some good results, especially.
Yeah, and it always does. It's always one of those, isn't it? It's like, again, Christmas break has come, and as much as we need the Christmas break, you're also thinking, well, we actually want to continue playing because we've grown so much momentum. And so you're sort of like glad the break is here, but also like, oh, but what if the break, like, you know, messes up our momentum and everything we've built? But I'm sure it won't, but that's always a niggling feeling in the back of your mind.
I remember speaking to Carl just before the start of the new season, saying that he was looking to bring in, you know, for the new campaign, some attacking and really creativity, and that certainly seems to have come to fruition. Yeah,
it has. I mean, that was sort of the goal of last season. We had always been quite, you know, solid defensively, but had not always been such a creative team in attacking. Like, we scored some great goals throughout this year and last season, but now it's almost, you know, we've got a really strong attacking and a really strong defensive unit, and obviously that's helping us get results. We're keeping clean sheets, scoring lots of goals, so it's exactly what you want, really. Do you notice, within the team, do you notice that development, or does it take sort of something like this to kind of step back and go, oh yeah, look, we could come such a long way in such a short period of time? I think we notice the development week in, week out, and I think we can tell because of like feelings towards certain games. So it's like we might win a game and not play well, and then we're a bit disappointed with ourselves, when before we would have been like, yes, 3 points, and that's all that matters. Whereas now, the mood in camp is one of like development and always wanting to be better, which at times we have to put ourselves back and think, do you know what, that was a great result regardless of how we played. We can play not to the standard we want and we still get results. But then in other things, it's like, it's great, we're always striving and moving forward, and the team of players we have now always want to be better, which is a really nice situation to be in, because it makes every training session and every match really good to be a part of. And it must feel great for you as well, for what's been built, both obviously on the pitch, but also the sort of team and sort of family feel as well. And speaking to so many of the new players as we have, that, you know, they say how easily it is that they've fitted in and been made to feel so welcome. Yeah, it's great. We have like a solid team, a united team. Everyone's really nice, and it does help when you're bringing in new faces, and so many new faces, that people can just sort of get in and settle in nicely and quickly. It's like really helpful on the pitch, but obviously off the pitch is just as important. For us, where we're coming to training after work, or we're coming to training, we might have had a stressful day, and people have got children and do stressful jobs. So it's really important that you want to be a part of it, and you come and you look forward to being with your friends and sort of, you know, your cliche, but your football family, and you want it. Yeah, it's just what you want, really. And such a great blend of obviously very young players who've perhaps not had too much first team experience, but, you know, other players who've played at higher levels and higher tiers as well. Yeah, me and Cole were talking about this the other day. We've got a really good mix now of sort of experience. I'll call us, not old, and the youth players who are coming through. We've had a lot of debuts from the 18s and development team this season so far, and I'm sure they'll keep coming, because the players we have at the youth level are just, you know, coming through, and they're really good, and they slot into first team football and the sort of environment just as easily as the older players, which is exactly what you want with that pathway coming through from all of the teams. I was thinking, so inspirational for the younger players to be able to look up and see what they could achieve as well. Yeah, it's great. I mean, we've got girls in the team now who have played at, you know, big named clubs, high level clubs, and it sort of lifts everybody, because the standards and expectations are really high. And when you come in as a young player, I remember when I was the same as them, you know, you come in as a young player and that is the standard, and you have to be at that standard, and you can really see what it takes to be in sort of the first team environment. And I think it's really good for their development overall, and sort of as a player and as a person, I suppose. Because I think, yeah, you don't really appreciate, do you, unless you're doing it, that must be such a step up from the developments or from the under-18s to the first team, and things are done quite differently, I guess. And I mean, it's great that you all train together as well. Yeah, and I mean, the difference is that we are results-based, aren't we? Everyone judges us on our sort of results, and the performances, to us, they matter, but to maybe other people, it's the amount of points on the board or the scoreline at the end of the game that matters. And then I suppose in in the other side of it, with when you're coming through the pathway, it's performance-based, it's minutes-based, and that sort of mindset is then hard, I think, to switch. But the girls do it really well, and they can appreciate that they get their minutes and get their development with us, but also it is about the results.
What's pleased you especially about what's happened so far this season?
I think just the manner in which we turn up to games and the sort of stuff people don't really see, like the mindset shift in the players and the players that have come in, just giving us that extra edge, which maybe we had lacked in previous seasons, but just due to sort of lack of experienced players, I guess. And now there is, 5 or 6 players who are used to playing at this level or a higher level, and they can just bring that extra edge. So for me, I think that's the biggest achievement this season so far, I would say. And obviously the results. I mean, we haven't lost in the league since opening day. We've obviously didn't have the cup runs we wished we'd had, but I think if we were going to lose at any point in the season, those cup games, upon reflection, were probably the best time to do it. It didn't feel very nice at the time, but I think we can now appreciate that it gave us sort of a learning curve, and we didn't mess up our league sort of hopes with those losses.
And do you feel really pleased to be in contention at this stage of the season, just 5 points off the top?
Yeah, I think we've also played most teams once. I think there's a couple of teams we haven't played. I think Woodley is one we haven't played at all, and we're still there and chasing Ascot. I mean, our results, we have to play them obviously in a couple of weeks, and that will be a really important game in our season, I suppose. But otherwise, it's really nice to see us up there and chasing them down and putting pressure on them, I suppose.
And what's been your thought on the sort of level of competition that you faced this season compared to previous campaigns? As you say, unbeaten since the opening day.
Yeah, I mean, the league is ever changing. You see, like we have signed a lot of players who, in their own right should be playing maybe in a higher league or however you want to look at it. But so is everyone else. You see lots of players now that are coming to teams to help them progress. And, we're not the only people that are signing players who sort of have got a much higher level experience. So every game we go into is really competitive. And, you can never guess the results on a weekend, which for the league is really exciting. It's a bit frustrating that only one team goes up, because you could have a near-perfect season and still not go up. And that's what's happened the last 2 or 3 seasons. The top 2 teams have maybe had 1 point or goal difference or something that separates them, and only one goes up. But that's just the way the league is. So we have to just focus on ourselves and make sure we can get all the points we can get and hope for the best, I suppose.
Have you been pleased with your own performance? And it's been great that you've been able to stay injury-free. I shouldn't say things like that.
Yeah, touch wood. I've had a few little niggles along the way, but I think that might be something to do with my age. But no, it's been good. We have struggled with a few injuries to first-team players this season, but I think hopefully after the Christmas break everyone should be back and at it. It will just be about getting match fitness for the others. But yeah, as always, I tell you at the start of the season, my goal is to stay fit and not injured. So far, so good with that one. I'm a harsh critic on myself, I suppose. I always think I could be better or doing better, be fitter, be stronger, be, all of those things. But overall, I've been part of a team that's on such a good run and keeping clean sheets. And as a centre-back, that is really important to me and like my defensive unit, I suppose. So yeah, pleased overall, but always there could be improvements.
And nice for you as well, whoever comes in the back, you can kind of, as you say, you seem to be a really cohesive unit there as well.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it regardless of who we've played this season, we had a couple of injuries. Amy Leach got injured and she was my centre-back partner at the start. So Ash came in from, I think she was playing right back at the time and came into centre-back. And I've played alongside Juliet Pinner, who is one of the under-18s and development players. And she's slotted in as well. And at right back, we've had Sophie Schofield, we've had Sophie Harvey, all of the youth players who have come in, and they've just done the same job. And it's been really, really good for us to show the depth in the squad that we have with our defensive unit, which for me is ideal, obviously, because I'm there and we want to keep it as consistent as possible. But when we do have to make changes, the people that come in have made it, super easy and stayed really consistent anyway. So, yeah, it's been really good so far from our defensive unit.
And do you sort of personally, but also collectively as a team, do you sort of revise your goals and targets for the season perhaps at this time of year?
I think we just keep reminding ourselves of them throughout the year. But we sat down as a squad at the beginning of the season, or actually when we had those cup losses, and we just defined how we want to be and our goals and our sort of values and stuff like that. And each week we just remind ourselves of what those are. And yeah, just work towards them. Obviously, a clean sheet as a defender and as a team is our priority. We want to be conceding as little goals as possible, so then we only have to score a few to win a game. We don't want to be, what we were like a couple of seasons ago, winning every game 5-4 or 4-3, and it's stressful. So as long as we can keep conceding as minimal goals as possible, we can always score some. So that's the goal, and we sort of do review that, but we just take it game by game.
Of course. And would you say there have been any sort of highlights for yourself of the season so far?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a highlight, but just as the way we've conducted ourselves this season, as I've said, we've brought in a lot of players and building momentum that we just want to take into the remainder of the season, I suppose. But I don't know if I can think of any particular highlights. No, I just think the way we're performing as a whole is a highlight. Fantastic.
Well, really appreciate your time. It's been brilliant to speak to you. Wish you a happy new year and all the best for the remainder of the season.
Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you too.
Wycombe Wanderers women next in action on the 12th of January, as Bobby mentioned, against league leaders Ascot. That'll be a big game. And then they take on Woodley 7 days after that, two teams that they've yet to face in the division. So that'll be a real test for them. We'll continue backing the Chairgirls here on the Wycombe Wanderers Show and speaking to more of their players and manager and coaching staff throughout the remainder of the campaign as well. Let's now, though, turn our attention back to the men. And it was the final news of 2024 that Jack Grimmer has signed a new contract extension, and Phil spoke to him after the Exeter game as well to reflect on the fact that there are 50 points on the board for the League One leaders at this stage of the season.
Yeah, we're safe. Yeah, it's it's been an incredible first half of the season, for sure it has. I think if you'd said that we were going to be here, I think we all had ambitions to improve on last season, of course we did, but to do it in the manner and the sort of the domination we've had at times in games has been very impressive, and it is so cliche, of course it is, but it is literally one game at a time. We're literally at the halfway stage, and nobody's ever been promoted or made the playoffs in December or January or February. So we are happy with the way things are going, but I'm sure the gaffers alluded to it, is you go back to the training pitch and you do the same passing patterns and you do the same recovery, you do the same stuff week in, week out, and if the football gods are watching, then they'll pay us back, I'm sure.
The fans were keeping a very close eye on this game, obviously, but also games elsewhere. And Wycombe have gone top of the table again because Birmingham were pegged back late. Wrexham lost. Wycombe top of the league at the halfway point. Does that mean anything to you as players at this stage?
Yeah, it's obviously, I would like to stand here and say, it doesn't matter and, we're not looking at the league, but it is nice to be top of the league, especially with teams that are splashing the cash and the teams that are so documented as being big players in this league. And it is a nice feeling, when you go home and you check the table on a Saturday evening or whatever day of the week it is right now. You're sitting there, you're top of the league. It is a nice feeling, but it's so cliche, but it is literally the halfway point. We need to just keep doing the things that have gotten us success. And the brilliant thing is everyone is driving each other on. We've got such a good squad of people. The players, of course, they're great players or they wouldn't be here, but the boys have really come to the fore this season, and the personalities we've got in the changing room have just moulded so well that it does make coming in to training every day quite enjoyable, which I think you're seeing out on the pitch as well. So long may it continue. If we're sitting here in April time and we're still top of the league, then I'll be a bit more happier, but I can't lie, it is nice to be top, especially starting the new year.
Finally, the last piece of news that broke in 2024 was your contract extension. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, again, part of the furniture, it feels like, but the club has, I've said it quite a few times, that the way the club has changed over my time here is incredible. I felt a fair good bit of pressure this season being captain and taking over from JJ, which who's an absolute club legend and rightly so, and for the team to be performing the way they are, but to then obviously get myself sorted and rewarded with a contract is a nice thing, and it takes the pressure off a bit, knowing that you're a little bit more secure. And the way the club is going, I've had good chats with the gaffer and, Dan and Edouard and the whole ownership group and things. And the way the club's going, it's exciting, and I want to be a part of that, for as long as I'm wanted. So yeah, it's nice. It's a good feeling, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a better feeling winning today. It would have taken the shine off it if we'd been beat, especially after Charlton. So we can't even celebrate anything because you've got 2 games and you've got 2 days and another game. So it's a busy period, but hopefully come the end of the season we'll have something to celebrate.
And you spoke in pre-season to us about the captaincy when it was given to you for the club, and in the statement as well from Dan and the gaffer with the academy and now younger people coming into the building, they spoke about you as a leader as well. That must make you feel immensely proud.
It does, yeah. It is something that I do kind of try and pride myself on is being one of the stalwarts in the change room, because in an ever changing club, the club, like I said, has changed so much. With the training ground and the changing room and the squad, with an ever-changing club, you need some people that are going to be there through it all to help people settle in. And not just myself, I'm very, very lucky. I've got good people around me. Gareth McCleary, Dave Wheeler, Sam Vokes. There's so many. Josh going to mention Luke Leahy, Butch as well. I could literally name you, a lot of players, but I'm very lucky to have those players around, and I think they're partly the reason that players like Az and players like Caleb Taylor, players like Cam Humphreys come in and they hit the ground running, because we have a good base here for people to come and enjoy their football, and especially with the addition of the academy, there's going to be a lot of younger players coming probably into the team that need a bit of guidance and things, and any role that I can play in that is going to be an enjoyable one for sure.
Always a pleasure to have a friend of the show, Jack Grimmer, on. You can hear more of his interview with Phil on Wanderers TV. Thank you very much indeed for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the show. As mentioned, Blackpool at home on Saturday. That's also a significant game because the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association will be gathering the remaining members of that 1975 team, which got to the third round of the FA Cup for the first time over those 2 legs against Middlesbrough. Brilliant to catch up with Alan Phillips and speak to a number of other players over the previous weeks as well. It'll be a special occasion for them. Huddersfield at home on Tuesday, of course, before we speak again. You'll hear both matches live here on Wycombe Sound and on Wanderers TV, and we'll be building up to the game against Portsmouth as well in the third round of the FA Cup on next week's show. Have a great week.